Hey everyone! So I wanted to make another video about the artifact system, but this time I wanted to go into a little more detail about how to properly optimize your approach to the artifact system, what artifacts may be better or worse for your particular build, if your class, and as well some general best practices. Now, I have already made a guide about the general artifact system. If you haven't already checked it out, please check that guide out first if you're new to the game and new to the artifact system, as that is a much broader overview and will give you a lot more better general information about how the system works. This guide will be skipping a lot of that basic explanation and diving into the more optimization side of things, which is also obviously useful, but you should watch the first video first, then come to this one as the second. So if you've already seen that video or you are familiar with how the system already works and you are looking for some more advanced optimizations, then great, let's jump in, not only to find out what the best artifacts are to focus on first as a priority, but also just the general best practices, like I said, for approaching artifacts. Now, your end game goal in artifacts is eventually to max out everything fully, but there are some better ways to approach this process on the way to fully maxing that goal in order to optimize your tangible power gains along the way. Now, it's very important to note that unlike many other systems, there is no way to reset any artifacts and get the materials you've used back. So it's very important that you get things right, because if you accidentally pour all your resources into an artifact that's not really that great, of which there aren't that many before you start getting worried, then you can't reset it and get any of those resources back. So once you upgrade in artifacts, it is permanent. So do keep that in mind. Now, if you're not a whale pushing everything to the max every single day, it is important to optimize your approach a bit. So just as a basic reminder, before we get into the individual artifacts, all artifacts give this damage to monster bonus and damage to boss bonus in varying levels. And that is important, but you get it as a passive regardless as you power up all your artifacts. And if you click in the top left here, you will see the total bonus that you have, both against common monsters and against bosses. Now, let's jump into the best way to approach artifacts and which ones to prioritize first, starting with rares. So when it comes to rares, because the artifact bond system currently does not have any rares in it, with the exception of one, but it doesn't count because that is missing one of the artifacts, which is coming at a later date. I will show that in a little while. The best way to approach the rares is by prioritizing the stats that are best for your build. So for example, there are a few attacking focused artifacts here, such as for attack you would go with Beginner's Guide to Simple Spells, and also the other one that gives attack is a Splendid Brocade. So both of these give attack. As well, you have Monster Ballads, which gives crit rate, and Book of Kind Words here, which gives haste. So these are all the really good attacking ones that you can get in the rares. So if you're a DPS, you would prioritize these four first above all else. Now, it is slightly easier to rank up rares, resonate rares, so do keep that in mind. But regardless, you would start, if you're a DPS, with Splendid Brocade, Beginner's Guide to Simple Spells, Monster Ballads, and Book of Kind Words as the four attacking stats focused artifacts. Now, I am talking primarily about resonance, but you would still follow roughly the same priority when it comes to starring up your artifact. So keep it in mind that I'm mostly talking about resonance, but using the stars would also fall into the same priority. So again, you have those four for DPS, and even a tank, even a healer would prioritize these, because the attack, crit, and haste will also increase your healing output, and a tank as well also needs offensive stats in addition to defensive stats. There are actually a lot more defensive stats in the rares. So if you are a tank and you're looking for a bit more survivability, you have, for example, a parrying dagger, which gives block, which is a very important stat for tanks, which block is one of those stats similar to crit and determination for DPS that you want to have around 35% as a tank. So this is a nice source of almost 100 block, and eventually will be over 100 block once we resonate to higher levels. Then you also have Blackrock War Song, if I can find it here, which is also going to give you evasion. Then you have Withering Flower and Guiding Lantern, which both give HP, and quite a lot of HP, as you can see. So that's between these two, over 10,000 HP just from these. Then you have Farewell Poem and Wayland's Kindness, which give you defense. So defense, I would say, is the least priority as compared to the ones I just mentioned. But if you are a tank, those are the defensive ones that you can prioritize if you're looking for a bit more survivability. Now, there are two other useful stats here. The prequel to Edda's Poem and the prologue to Edda's Poem reduce the damage taken in main journey and in Dragon's Bounty, which probably will become a bit more useful towards the, as the stages get more and more challenging. But for now, I would put those as a lower priority to the ones I've just mentioned, at least for the rares. Now, this is how you approach rares. When it comes to epics, you would approach things slightly differently. So for resonance, at least with the epics, you would generally want to level everything evenly, because all of these epics that you have here are in fact in the bond system. So when you open the bond system, you see here you get bonuses by how your resonance is for all of the items in each set. So here, for example, I have +7 for all these items. There's no +7 here, but I have gotten the +3 and +6 resonance bonuses for having all these artifacts. Sorry, every time I try to drag this, it clicks on it. It's kind of frustrating. So you do get the resonance bonus here, which is important and adds up a lot. And so you would, instead of prioritizing the stats of the epics, you would instead prioritize evenly resonating all epics that are in the artifact bond system in order to get higher resonance bonuses. So this is very important. Rather than rares where you're focusing first off on the best offensive or defensive stats as you need, you would instead focus on epics in evenly resonating all of the epics that are in the bond system so that you can benefit from these bond bonuses. And as you go down, you'll see basically almost all of the epics are in the bond system with one or two exceptions. The number one being this Ambition of Hearthcats here, which is simply increasing gold drop from the main journey, which is good, don't get me wrong, very good. But I would still prioritize the epics that are in the bond system first. When it comes to starring up epics, then you might decide, if you have to choose between resources between one or the other, then you can go and check the passive effects and say, well, for example, I want to have more attack, so I'm going to instead put stars into the Emerald Sword in the Stone, for example. You can see here you get an increase to the passive effect. And sorry, it went out of the system. So that's the best way to approach the epics, is first off, resonate everything evenly so that you benefit from the bond bonus, and then when it comes to starring up everything, you can prioritize the best ones for your spec, whether you want more defense, whether you want more attack. You can basically check the passive effect here, and you can see Volcano regions and Void regions. Now, one thing I will mention now that's very important to keep in mind, and I should have mentioned it earlier actually, the Void, when you see here it says, let me show if I can show you, sorry, give me a second. So if you see here, this says in all Volcano regions increase attack by X%, and then the other one, which I will find quickly, bear with me one second. Oh, it's a legendary. I'll get there when we get to legendary. So in all Volcano regions, increase attack by 7.6%. Now, Volcano regions, this is dragon. So some of you may not know that. You may think, oh, volcano regions, this only applies to like main story journey. No, the dragon stage, the dragon arena, it counts as a volcano region, so this actually increases your attack in dragon. This is very important. So do keep that in mind. This is a very important passive effect because you get more bonus attack in dragon. So that's a very important one to prioritize. You can, if you have star up materials and you're wondering, this is a very, very good one to prioritize here. There are some other good ones as well, like the Dragonator Sword, which gives flat attack. This for more defense if you're a tank, more HP, and so on and so forth. Here's another, like I said, the Emerald Stone is a good one. More defense. And that's basically the best way to approach epics. I apologize, I'm jumping around a little bit, but let's now move on to legendaries. Now, when it comes to legendaries, you do want to have the same priority approach for the legendaries that show up in the bond system. So here you have Supreme Swordplay, Song of Enchanted Gold, Song of the Other Shore, and Red Horse Drink, Clear Vision, and Mastery Board. Now, those are the legendaries that are in the bond system, so those you should resonate equally as a priority so that you benefit from this resonance bonus. Now, there are two others down here. The Edda's Poem, we are missing the epilogue to Edda's Poem, which if you click on this, you can see comes from a paper plane event. So one of the paper plane weeks is going to give us this epilogue to Edda's Poem, which as you can see, increase the time limit of AFK earnings by 2 hours. Very clutch if you're the type of person who spends a lot of time offline. This gives you a 2-hour buffer if you can't log in a 12-hour time period. There is also this past recollections, but these all come from special events, which we will probably get more information of in the future. So once you have those artifacts, the legendary artifacts that are here in the bond system, evenly resonated, then you would go through the legendaries, and using the same approach as the epics, you would choose to focus on the ones that give the best stats for you. So one of the best ones here as well is the main part of Edda's Poem. For honestly everyone, not just DPS, healers, and tanks as well, when partying up with other players, increase attack by a percentage. I have this one quite high, so it's giving me 4.7%, which is very, very nice to have. So that's a very good offensive legendary artifact. Let's just go through all of the legendaries because, like I mentioned, you got to resonate equally, but you will prioritize your materials differently depending on what you have unlocked. White Tiger Seal, I'll mention, did come from a pack. This is, however, not a pack limited artifact. Like if someone was thinking, oh my god, if I don't buy this, I'm going to be forever bricked. This is a pay to win only artifact. It only came from the pack. No, this is a artifact from the Age of Volcano area that we've basically just been allowed to get early by having it included in a pack. So don't panic if you saw this pack and thought to yourself, oh my god, I can't believe I'm never going to get this. It's simply giving us a future unlock early, and that's it. So no stress. Important. This is another good one, Desert Compass, increasing your gold drop in main journey. We all know gold is quite limited, especially as you progress through class change 1. Things get very, very expensive. Supreme Swordplay, like I mentioned. So Dragon, the Dragon Arena counts as in the Volcano stage, and the Void region is waves, excuse me. So the Void region is actually horror waves. So by getting this artifact and ranking it up, you're increasing your attack in horror waves, which is very important as well, so you can get all of the ranking rewards. Sorry, not ranking rewards, but all the rewards for clearing and the speedrun rewards to get the cosmetic items and so on and so forth. So a very important artifact as well. Supreme Swordplay increases your damage in horror waves. Very, very good. This is another very critical artifact, but not so much for your performance or damage output, but instead, whenever you're doing rifts, when obtaining crystals, there's a 22% or whatever percentage you have chance to to obtain an additional one. This is super clutch, and more often than not, you'll be running a rift and you'll be like, oh my god, I need a crystal, I need 2 crystals. And having this, when you get that double crystal drop, it is a great feeling and helps you progress much faster, especially when crystal drops are quite low. So this is another very important non-performance oriented artifact that you should definitely star up as much as you can. Main part of Edda's poem we've gone over already. Mastery board, slightly less priority since it is defense, which is okay for tanks, but still not a priority stat for them. HP from the Red Horse drink. Clear Vision is another attack one for every 150 gear enhancement. Increase attack accordingly. Very good, very nice amount of attack you can gain from here. You see I'm getting 226 attack from this effect. Another good offensive one. Song of Enchanted Gold, in my opinion, is probably the most important offensive artifact, especially for healers, and honestly most DPS. I mean, for myself as a Darkblade, this is the best artifact by far, because of the fact that my #1 damage source is a tactical skill, Crimson Ring. So this is my bread and butter artifact. If I could get more things to upgrade here, I would do it in a heartbeat. So you can see here, I would actually I would save up all the resources here just to get this to another level. There is a bit of diminishing returns, obviously, but that's how important this feels to me. So this increases all your tactical skill damage and tactical skill healing as well. So for healers, this will be a huge benefit to your healing output. So another very, very good legendary artifact. Then you have Song of the Other Shore, which as well, there it is, tactical skill damage and tactical healing effect. Very important artifact. Anytime you have anything that increases your healing effect or damage is written explicitly with damage, those are very, very powerful passives. So this is another phenomenal legendary artifact. And that's basically it. So there you have it, a little bit of a more detailed rundown into some ways to optimize and prioritize the artifacts in the system, because you can't reset anything, on the way to fully maxing everything out as you're collecting materials. I hope this helps you prioritize which artifact you should focus on first, especially for your DPS, healing, or tank builds. And there you have it. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hit that like button if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is going to be uploaded. And of course, join the Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description down below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.